Hey, good morning. Up and at 'em, sunshine. Yes, it is. It's Monday, July 14th of 2025. So what are we going to talk about today? Well, this one's on you, Amos, and it's not directed at you, but listening to your comment you wrote yesterday, I thought we'd talk about taking care of yourself and men's health. Actually, anybody's health, but what you should be watching for and not dismissing. So stay tuned. Alrighty, welcome back to the channel. My name is Eric, if you didn't already know it. And yes, this is the weekday, Monday through Friday. Today is Monday, July 14th of 2025. So what am I talking about when it comes to men's health or health in general? Now, my gut says a lot of you are very much like me and Amos, that you'll put things off and dismiss things when it could be warning signs trying to tell you you need to get your ass to the doctors. And Claude is no different. Claude, he's been having, like, he can't get his breath half the time. He sweats like a pig. And he's been having chest pains. And he blamed it on this venison bologna that gets made because he was eating like one every other night. So he gave that away to his kids and said that solved the problem, but I could see it didn't. So I've been after him just to simply have some blood work done and an EKG. Doesn't cost him anything. He's on Medicare. They will cover that. And I would suggest to any of you guys out there, even if you're not having the chest pains, if you're just having shortness of breath or aches and pains that don't seem right, and this, first of all, let's rule out what it's not. All right. And having a blood test, what it ends up being is there's a certain enzyme in there. Okay. And if you've had a recent heart attack, those enzyme levels will be up. Okay. The average is between 40 and 60. That's the number that doctors shoot for at the ER. Mine was over 800 when I walked through the ER doors before my trip to Syracuse and open heart surgery. But that's a good indicator what's going on lately with your heart. Has it seen a heart attack in the recent past? And then the EKG will give a baseline to see where it's going. Some people have got heart murmurs. My grandfather had it where every so often it would skip a beat, and my grandfather lived up into his 80s with no problems when it came to cardiac. He had diabetic problems, but he didn't have anything to do with cardiac. And even the diabetic stuff didn't come on until late in life. But as we get older, we need to pay even more attention. And it's not invasive like it used to be. Having a simple blood test and EKG should be a once a year thing, anyways. All right. And most insurances will cover it because it's called preventative care versus having to go and go through, like me, the $500,000 man surgery, right? So they're willing to pay for that stuff to have preventative. Now, I'm not saying walk into the ER and have them do a workup. No, because even if you have Medicare, it's going to cost you over $2,000. If you do it with your primary and just go and do lab works on a quick EKG or stress tests, nuclear or on a treadmill, all that good stuff, and rule it out, that's preventative, all right? What were the warning signs for me that I dismissed? There were a lot of them. There were. I'd have sharp pains every once in a while when it first started getting to be an issue. And I always chalked it up to a pulled muscle, a bruise. I mean, I had every excuse known to man why not to go to the doctors. Even though my wife and my kids were on my ass steady, Dad, you need to have this looked at. So, I mean, I even convinced my primary that it was nothing more than a pinched muscle where a bull had pinched me in between a bale of hay, a big bale of hay, round bale, and the metal frame, the aluminum frame of the cattle trailer. Okay? So she put me on something for inflammation. And after being on that for a while, I noticed that something's not right. And even when I had where I was sleeping in this office chair for almost 2 months, yeah, 2 months, I'm a slow learner. I went to the after hours clinic to have them check it, and they did a x-ray and they said, Eric, you got pneumonia. But here's the but. She said, Eric, I think it's more than just pneumonia. I think you have something cardiac going on. And I'd like to see you go to Potsdam right now. And that's the closest ER. And I blew it off. I mean, I shouldn't be here today. I am a doctor's worst nightmare. Because I don't follow directions. I figure I'm only going to be here once. I'm going to enjoy myself. But you can still do that and still make sure that everything is on the up and up. I mean, I've never had sugar, thank God. You know, some of you guys, Amos, I don't know what we're going to do with you. You are a walking time bomb. If there's anything I can do, I mean, I don't know what, besides give you moral support, I mean, ask. The other thing that really bothers me since the open heart surgery is heat. It never used to bother me. I mean, it was a discomfort. I was on a tractor. I tanned down, yada, 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 right? But it knocks the living crap out of me so that I'm just dragging, trying to get things done. This year's going to be fine. And why do I say this year? Because this year, I'm still working on my first. I did my first mowing, my first raking, my first baling, my first wrapping this weekend. A lot of my first. Wrapping is where you just wrap the bale, make it a silage bale instead of a dry bale. But the heat and the humidity kill me. And you really have to watch, even if you're in good shape, is when you stop sweating and the skin gets dry, that's telling you you've drained your fluids. It's time to get more fluids in you. And I'll tell you, I lost count at like 8 or 9 Freezy Pops, those ones you get, $3.39, a big package of them that are different flavors. I keep 3 or 4 of those right in the freezer for the summer because they'll cool you down fast. Umpteen things of water. I just bought a jug. And it wasn't very expensive. It was under $10. It's a water jug, pretty good sized. But friends of mine were telling me, fill it half full of water, put it in the freezer, and then when you get ready to go out, add some water on top of the ice that's in there, and it'll keep your water cold all day long. So I'm trying that. I bought one. I filled it half full of water. I left the little flip thing up on it, put it in the freezer, and that's where it's been since yesterday morning. But what are the things that you can do to minimize major health concerns? The biggest is you should be seeing your primary a minimum of once a year. Once a year. See, now I see my primary every 3 months, and that's because I'm on a narcotic. Been on it for over 20 years, okay? I don't get high or anything like that. And I take small doses, just enough to take the edge off. That's it. Pain's still there. That's fine. But those sharp feeling like somebody's driving a nail into you or something else, right? But you should be at least once a year, okay? And as you get older, if you're retired, guess what? You have a wellness visit at least once a year that you shouldn't cancel. And during that wellness visit, they should send some labs for you to go to your local hospital or wherever you get your labs done and have those all done before your wellness visit. Now, colonoscopy, endoscopy, I haven't had either. And I'm not willing to unless there's something that's not working right. As I've told my primary provider and my wife, if someone's going to do a colonoscopy on it, she better be pretty and kiss me when she's done. So, I mean, if you get those tests, it's good to rule things out. And they recommend anybody over 50 have at least one. So but now between my primary and my cardiac team, they're sending orders over for blood work all the time. They just want me to be present to have it drawn. And I don't know if you can see on my arm, but I'm a regular pin cushion at the lab. But the girls love me, so they're my granddaughter's age. But what are the things that you can do for yourself? Okay, blood work should get an EKG even for a baseline. What's a baseline? Just so that if something happens, they know what it was and what it is now and can match it up and see if there's any discrepancies. Really. Medications. Amos, that your primary should get his ass kicked. Because one thing that my group of doctors are doing is they work together. And if I have an issue with my primary, like diabetes, if it's flaring up, my primary will talk with the cardiac team before prescribing me anything. Because my cardiac team knows that if something else is added in or increased, it could affect the meds they're prescribing. And my primary will not write the meds that the cardiac team is writing. And vice versa. The cardiac team is not going to write the meds that I'm on a regular basis. But they do stay in communication. They do run it by each other when they're making medication adjustments. Is it okay? Or is there another viable option that's not going to backfire? And in your case, Amos, the deal with your sugar spiking and him trying to get that under control to give you a heart attack. Oh, I don't know what we're going to do with you. I got a spare bedroom. I can take care of you, I guess. I can't stress it enough. And I think you would feel the same way, Amos, is you need to keep things checked. Regular doctor appointments, even if it's just once a year, that's fine. If you're feeling good and everything is going good for you, but if you start having chest pains radiating down either one of your arms, tightness in your chest, hard problem trying to breathe, I even had migraines, and I never have migraines. And that was another thing that has gone away since the surgery, and that is for the last couple months before the surgery, the migraines were terrible. But my whole body was out of control. And even the doctors said they couldn't believe that I walked into the ER locally with a heart function of 9 and 99% blockage in every one of mine. That's how serious it was. The only saving grace is, years ago, I have peripheral artery disease in my legs, okay? And the surgeon at that time said, as farther ahead to treat me with medications versus the surgery. The surgery was more risky than just leaving it as it was. So he put me on two different blood thinners, and that pretty much saved my ass. So if you're not on blood thinners, don't think you can get away with it like I did, because my blood was still able to seep through even with that much of a blockage. Just give it some thought. I know it's not a topic that we like to hear, because even before the surgery, I didn't want to have people telling me what to do and why I should do it. I mean, I was an EMT for years. I know why you should do it. And here I am telling you you should do it when I didn't. Right, right, right. Yep. So some of the things that you can do is blood work, EKG, stress test, get those out so that you have a baseline to go by. Anything that changes that is causing issues, I would recommend that you get with your primary. And I keep saying my primary. Primary to me is my primary medical doctor that I go to whenever I have problems. All right. And she's actually a nurse practitioner. She's super good. And I have an appointment coming up, I think, on the 20 something with her. But they can only do so much if they don't have the information to work with. I mean, she saved my ass by pushing hard, and she knew that I was stubborn. But she was just as stubborn. And there was no ifs, ands, or buts on that one. But that's the person that you go to. Instead of running to the ER or after hours clinic, if you can get in with somebody that keeps all your records and everything together, and you see them every 6 months or every 3 months or once a year for your wellness, that's fine. And you need to do what they recommend. Claude thinks it's a money grab to have blood work and an EKG done. Not at his age, and not with what's going on with him lately. The last thing I want to see is have him have something wrong. But he's still being belligerent. So on that note, you guys have a great day. Think about it. And Amos, I hope you get to feeling better soon. My heart goes out to you. On that note, you guys have a great Monday. We'll be here bright and early tomorrow morning for something to do with business instead of health.